Emotional intelligence, Daniel Goleman. Emotional intelligence is one of the greatest discoveries of modern psychology. For a long time, people believed that the ultimate key to success was IQ, the intelligence quotient. But Daniel Goleman, science journalist of the New York Times and psychologist, showed the world something even more powerful: the ability to manage our own emotions and understand the emotions of others. This is what we call emotional intelligence. But what does it really mean to be emotionally intelligent? To answer that, let's break down the key pillars of Goleman's book and see how we can apply them to our everyday lives. 1. What is emotional intelligence? Emotional intelligence is not just about being calm or suppressing anger. It's about the ability to recognize what you're feeling, understand where it's coming from, manage in a healthy way, and use it as an ally in your decision-making process. Think of someone who is incredibly smart on paper, with excellent grades and sharp logic, but who loses control at the slightest frustration. That person may shine academically, yet struggle in relationships, at work, and even with their own mental health. On the other hand, someone with emotional intelligence can transform emotions into strength. For example, turning anger into energy to solve a problem, or turning fear into caution that helps them make safer choices. Emotions stop being the enemy and become a resource. 2. The 5 components of emotional intelligence. Daniel Goleman organizes emotional intelligence into 5 core skills. Let's take a closer look at each one. 2.1. Self-awareness. The first is self-awareness, the ability to recognize what you're feeling in the moment and understand how it influences your behavior. For example, when you receive criticism at work, some people respond offensively without even realizing that hurt pride is speaking louder than reason. A self-aware person notices that sting, pauses, and chooses to respond thoughtfully instead of reacting impulsively. 2.2. Self-regulation. The second is self-regulation, the ability to manage impulses and emotions. It doesn't mean bottling everything up, but rather directing emotions in a constructive way. Take a driver stuck in traffic. Without self-regulation, he honks, yells, and ruins his morning. With self-regulation, he accepts that the situation is beyond his control and decides to listen to a podcast or enjoy music instead. The situation is the same, but the choice changes everything. 2.3. Motivation. The third is motivation. Emotionally intelligent people don't depend solely on external rewards like money or recognition. They tap into inner drive and purpose. Think of a student who studies not just to pass the test, but because learning itself excites them. They're fueled by curiosity and the desire to grow, not just by external validation. 2.4. Empathy. The fourth is empathy, the ability to put yourself in someone else's shoes. Empathy is not just about compassion. It's about perceiving and understanding another person's emotional state, and then responding appropriately. Picture a manager who notices their team is discouraged. Instead of ignoring it and pushing harder for results, an empathetic leader checks in, listens, and works together to find solutions. The result? Stronger trust, higher motivation, and better performance. 2.5. Social skills. Finally, we have social skills. This means the ability to build meaningful connections, communicate clearly, manage conflicts, and foster cooperation. Imagine 2 co-workers who disagree during a meeting. One raises their voice and creates tension. The other listens calmly, acknowledges the other's perspective, and works toward a compromise. The second one is practicing emotional intelligence and earning respect in the process. 3. The emotional brain versus the rational brain. To understand emotional intelligence, Goleman takes us inside the brain. There's a constant dialogue between the rational brain, the neocortex, and the emotional brain, the limbic system, especially the amygdala. The amygdala triggers quick, instinctive reactions like fear or anger. The neocortex, on the other hand, helps us analyze and think logically. When we act impulsively, it's often because the amygdala has hijacked the brain. It's what people mean when they say, "I spoke without thinking." Developing emotional intelligence is about creating balance, allowing ourselves to feel emotions without being dominated by them. Picture this. You receive a rude email. Your first instinct is to reply immediately, equally rude. But if you pause, breathe, and wait until the next day to respond calmly and clearly, you prevented an unnecessary conflict. That's emotional intelligence in action. 4. Emotional intelligence in everyday life. Emotional intelligence shapes every area of life. Relationships. Couples who cultivate empathy and self-regulation argue less and resolve issues more effectively. Health. Emotional intelligence reduces stress, improves sleep, and even strengthens the immune system. Career. People with high emotional intelligence handle pressure, negotiations, and teamwork far better than those who rely on IQ alone. In fact, Goleman points out that professionals with strong emotional intelligence often outperform their peers because they know how to connect, influence, and inspire others. 5. Emotional intelligence in education. Goleman also emphasizes how crucial it is to develop emotional intelligence from childhood. Kids who learn, understand, and manage their feelings do better in school, have healthier friendships, and grow into more resilient adults. For example, a child who learns breathing techniques to calm down instead of lashing out during anger not only avoids fights, but also develops lifelong emotional regulation skills. Schools that adopt social-emotional learning programs often see improved academic performance, less bullying, and more positive classroom environments. 6. Emotional intelligence at work and in leadership. In the workplace, emotional intelligence is a competitive advantage. The best leaders aren't necessarily the ones with the deepest technical expertise. They're the ones who can inspire, motivate, and connect with people. Consider 2 managers. One only demands results, ignoring the human side. The other recognizes accomplishments, gives constructive feedback, and shows genuine care for the team. It's obvious which leader will have a more loyal, productive, and motivated team. Emotional intelligence is what turns authority into true leadership. 7. The benefits of cultivating emotional intelligence. When we intentionally practice emotional intelligence, the benefits ripple into every area of our lives. Less stress and anxiety, because we learn to handle challenges more calmly. Better decision-making, since we don't act on temporary impulses. Stronger relationships, built on empathy and healthy communication. Greater well-being and happiness, because we understand ourselves and others more deeply. Conclusion. In the end, Daniel Goleman's message is clear. Emotional intelligence is as important, if not more important, than intellectual intelligence. And the best part? Unlike IQ, emotional intelligence is not fixed. It can be developed, strengthened, and refined over time. By cultivating self-awareness, self-regulation, motivation, empathy, and social skills, we unlock not only professional success, but also a richer, more balanced, and meaningful life. That is the true power of emotional intelligence, understanding the human heart, so we can live with more wisdom, compassion, and purpose. If you enjoyed this breakdown of Daniel Goleman's emotional intelligence, don't forget to subscribe to Healing Vibe, where we dive deep into books, ideas, and practices that can transform your life from the inside out. Together, let's grow wiser, calmer, and stronger, one insight at a time.